Thank you. I'm Martin Udell. I'm a retired city budget analyst. I hope you all saw my letter in the Post Friday proposing a modest gasoline tax increase. Stop digging. Last summer I told you you're shoveling money down a bottomless hole. Well, the money's gone. The East Side Access is an $8 billion monster. The Second Avenue subway is ruining businesses on the Upper East Side as it crawls along. And with the Hudson Yards foundering and the Javits Center in decline, the number 7 line extension is a $3 billion tunnel to nowhere. Do not ask the federal government to fund these projects. The only workers they support are the Germans who built the tunnel boring machines. If you want to employ our workers by making something useful, renovate the 24 subway stations and build the third track on Long Island. Now listen carefully. For about $1 billion, you could recreate a one-seat ride from JFK to Penn Station on the old Rockaway right-of-way with a stop at the Aqueduct Racino. This would take thousands of cars off the roads to the airport and the track, reduce the commute on public transit from Southeast Queens by 30 minutes, keep the tourist business moving and stimulate business travel, shorten the trip to upstate to Buffalo, Syracuse, and Rochester by half an hour, reduce flight congestion at LaGuardia, generate $500 million in revenue, including casino gambling, create a direct rail connection between Newark Liberty and JFK. Still listening? Connect the Hudson Yards simply by extending Long Island Railroad service from Penn Station. That would give prospective tenants a one-seat ride to the airport. Why didn't you think of this? I don't know. Who's on first?
I'd like a motion and a second for approval of the minutes from the December meeting.
Motion made.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The work plan, this month we do need to vote on the work plan. First of all, are there any questions regarding it? A motion and a second. Okay, all in favor? Aye. We're approving the 2009 work plan. So you got your work cut out. The project status reports, Michael will provide an overview of the projects as he does each month. And as requested a few meetings ago, a more detailed discussion on the status of the number 7 line.
Thank you and good morning. Actually, this is the first meeting this year, so whoever I didn't see, Happy New Year. I would like to begin today's discussion regarding the comprehensive budget and schedule review that has been underway, particularly on 2nd Avenue subway and East Side access. First, I think it's important to recap the events that took place prior to my arrival at MTACC. Early in 2008, the committee was presented with the results of a top-down analysis, what has been called a 30-day review that led to the development of the proposed 2008-2013 draft capital plan. At that time, the 2nd Avenue subway costs were $4.3 billion, East Side access $7.244, and the schedule for both projects were extended to 2015. In addition, planning efforts included the assumption that both projects would extend into the next and possibly the following capital plan, and to ensure that project funding would be adequate, the Blue Ribbon panel acknowledged the continuing existence of pressure on both cost and schedule, and therefore recommended the establishment of an unallocated project reserve, and that amounted to about $750 million for the mega projects. After my arrival towards the end of 2008, I advised that with my new team in place, I will, and I started undertaking a bottom-up, and it's very important, a bottom-up analysis of this project so as to better understand the risk to budget and schedules and to inform the pending 2010-2014 program. This exercise has been a very thorough and comprehensive review that the 30-day time frame previously used did not accommodate. What we did is we really built it from the bottom up. As a result, the project teams were able to do a complete analysis of the projects And in doing so, we have pointed to the risk associated with multiple contract packages, complex system integration activities, and required commissioning effort that must be taken prior to the start of revenue service. It's very important to remember that we have not done anything new in a long, long time, and the commissioning is not just here's the key and go in good health and run the system. It doesn't happen that way. Now that we have had the opportunity to undertake this comprehensive review, we are working very closely with the independent engineer and the client operating agency. So the independent engineer is actually works for the board, and we're doing that in order to address any foreseeable future concerns. The independent engineer has a valuable role in this process in bringing an independent perspective to this review. We are in the forest, so we need someone from outside the forest to see the forest. We kind of sometimes just see the trees. And the independent engineer presently is reviewing the detailed schedule and budget breakdowns for this project, and will be presenting the information and recommendation that these reviews are completed. We want to come to you once this is done rather than doing it in a piecemeal fashion. At this point, until this process is completed, it is really early to tell and predict the outcome. With that, I would like actually to go and just give you the various projects and how they are breaking down and what we're doing. Let me start with a Fulton Street Transit Center. I'm happy to report that we continue to make progress with the critical underground work. And the Transit Center Building Foundation contract has been awarded, and work has already commenced. Just to mention that as part of this contract, we will also be doing the underpinning of the Corbin building. And that will be done. We originally have thought that we'll do it at a later stage, and we decided to add it to the current contract. So we will be negotiating a change order for that. The RFP for the AC-JMZ mezzanine will be the next package issue, and will reconfigure the existing ramps in the AC East and West mezzanine to improve passenger flows in ADA. It includes new elevators and escalators servicing the various lines. As for the Transit Center building, we continue right now our dialogue with the various stakeholders to finalize the building itself, funding, as well as a timetable for construction. The construction cannot begin until the foundation contract is complete. That means August of 2010. Very important. So we cannot do that. So we have sometimes to complete the building its design itself. So there is actually that's an advantage that we have, and we're taking we're looking at it to make sure that we'll have a design that is going to be both acceptable. It will be elegant, and the community will really have a focal point and use for the facility. Right now we are also looking at the design with the eye to have a simpler building design, so that our costs and cost constraints will be addressed if they are there. But I will say to you one thing for sure, that the building, it will be a beautiful building, and will be delivered as part of the Fulton Street Transit Center project. That is, yes.
Okay, so I'm a little confused. Saying it's going to be a beautiful building, and you're working on design. Do we have the money for this building?
I'm sorry. What I'm actually looking at, the building, the envelope of the building will look exactly the same way as it was seen on the various renderings that were presented before. We're looking to simplify and reprogram primarily the inside of the building. That's sometimes where the price is becoming a consideration. We do have, I think, a $1.2 billion that we have, in fact, last March is 1198, if I'm correct, that we have basically program for it. And at this point, we are looking at to see what can we save in order to try to keep the price at that level.
Yes, Mark. And then
Michael, you mentioned that you're continuing discussions with various stakeholders. What does stakeholder mean in MTA speak? Did you borrow that from the restaurant industry? And aren't we the only stakeholder?
No, definitely not. We are in the Lower Manhattan, so therefore we are. This is the community board, the Downtown Alliance. We are talking to the representatives of the speaker, that is this district. So we are touching base with the variety of people, including the city in that case. So these are the stakeholders, actually, the city, the office of the speaker, the alliance, Liz Berger and the people that she represents. So we are, and the community board.
So we're
Oh, wait, excuse me, Norman.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm
sorry.
Michael, that 1.1198 figure that you just used, was that solely for the building?
Oh, definitely not. This was for the
Okay.
whole project.
Well, then, there's other factors that are going to enter into how much we have left for the building, how it goes underground, for instance.
Yes, we do have a bid right now for the foundation. The foundation will bring us basically to the first floor, to the street level of the, and we'll start the building from that point up. So when we start the building, we will have the foundation already in place. So that will assume that we'll be able to build the above ground at a relatively sensible cost. That, by the way, being a building, this is one area that we probably will see a reduction in cost due to the market conditions. This is one thing that's not being built today.
This isn't nothing negative to you. I don't feel like we're getting a total straight answer here. I just feel like there's a lot of other factors that maybe aren't being discussed right now and for reasons that may be very valuable. So there's just, I'm still very confused. Okay, Norman. Don't be scared of me.
No. I have two questions. Who is this independent engineer that works for the board? Who is that person?
The person is a firm, and the firm until I think March 1st is Carter Burgess, has been for the last 5 years, I think. And as of March 1st, there is a new independent engineer that will come on board that probably will be a handoff between the two, so that may actually delay some of the answers as well, because the people that come on board will want to look at it as well. But they're working for you, and I think the person that was leading the effort under the Carter Burgess sits in the back, Jerry Gold, right? Jerry? Could you raise your hand? And they work for you for a while. So
Right,
for
so
you,
when
meaning for the board.
When these other people come on, or we get a chance to meet, well, do I get a chance to meet them? I have no idea who this person is you're talking about.
Whoever you want to meet. You're not going to meet them here in this forum, but you're welcome to meet whoever you want to meet.
In the context of CPOC, you can meet all of them, and that's something that anyone on the board is welcome to do that, and Dale probably could arrange for that.
My second question is this stakeholder thing that we were talking about for a second. If there are other stakeholders in this, and we make a decision, do they have the right to stop the progress being made because they have an input in this?
Let me. I think that for a long time this has been on the boards, and in fact there was an agreement at one point to what type of facility ought to be built, and it had an Oculus, if you remember, some of you, and that was at one point agreed upon, and would have not been an issue if it wasn't that we're trying to look also at the dollars and cents, as well as the fact that since this was done to a certain degree, the community has has turned into a 24/7 community. It's no longer just a business community, a lot of residents. So there were certain pressures regarding the amount of retail space that is being provided, and to what extent that can be now adjusted to be responsive to the new needs of the community, while in fact not increasing the cost, but on the contrary, going the other way. So while the building that you will see is going to be the same exact building that was in fact vetted by NYPD in terms of design and so forth, we're looking at this point the potential internal reprogramming. That means what you really put in there and how you arrange it to potentially lower the cost and at the same time be more responsive to the needs of the community.
Michael, let me try the question this way. Stakeholders. Can they stop?
No, I do not. At this point, we can go ahead and build what we have originally programmed, and anyone can do something. But as long as we have the money, we can go ahead. It was vetted, approved, and at this point, we feel that we can go ahead with what we have.
So you don't know whether they can or they can't.
No, I believe. Look, I believe that anyone potentially can throw a monkey wrench, but I believe that at the same time there is a desire in the community to proceed and build and get over with. It's an important piece of the community, so that in terms of a building that will serve the needs of the community. So I do not believe that it will be stopped by anyone. On the contrary, I think there is a lot of impetus in pushing us to finish it rather than stopping us doing it. So I don't believe that people want to stop us.
Would you permit me to answer that question also?
Go ahead.
None of them can stop it, Norman, except that Michael doesn't really want to offend any one of these groups because they'll get back at him one way or the other. So that if he offends the community, if he offends the community board, or if he offends the speaker, they'll think of some way to affect him by protests or by opposing some budgetary request. So therefore, he has to tread the very fine line of knowing that while nobody can stop it, he wants to keep as many people at least as informed as he possibly can, and even happy if that's at all possible.
I must say, that is helping to clarify my confusion, and that was quite eloquent.
Let me take another stab. Mark was very eloquent and I think very direct, but also understand that the planning of this particular building happened, if you all recall, when the state and the city had a lot more money. We all had a lot of money before the downturn, and this was part of an agreement to build, lower downtown. With what's the guy who's doing the other thing on the other side, the Spanish?
Calatrava.
Yeah, there was also a try to make it beautiful, but we were more restricted in dollars than we were before. So we're trying to work out something that's not only beautiful but practical. So that's part of what's going on, and all the community where this building is going to be built are concerned of what we're going to build, and we want to make sure we can make them as happy as we can. It's a complicated process, that's for sure.
Jeff?
So I have two questions / points, I guess. One is, and you talked a little bit about retail, and one thing we have been talking about over time is seeing if we can get some more revenue in there by retail, and you mentioned that as part of your conversation. So do you see a lot more retail revenue coming in for, say, the first floor of this or whatnot?
The design that we're looking at is to increase the amount of retail space, leasable retail space, on both the street level as well as the first floor above that, and if possible, depending on what type of retail tenant one gets, and it should be very clear that different designs appeal to different type of retail customers, in the sense that if you have one major retailer, they look at it differently in terms of the space arrangement than if you have multiple retailers. So we're working with also the MTA real estate people and actually people that do understand retail to see if there is potential for that. I should also mention that as part of the agreement, when this is going to open, we will be actually rehabilitating the exterior of the Corbin building that is a landmark, and the lower level of that that is retail will be made part of it, so that will be at the same time.
I actually think that's important in order to bring retail. You can't have retail in one place and a dilapidated building right next door. So I think that is important. Is there any estimates now, or Rocco, any leads onto how much money we think we can get in order to leverage for this project out of retail? Or is it way too early?
I think it's early. It's really early for us to determine. We have to decide and look at things to see what type of retailers would be interested. As you know, today, if you are in that business, we hope that 2 years from now, the market will be very different than it is today.
But
Let me put it in these terms.
When we talk about money, and that gets to my second point, you talked about reprogramming and looking at costs and trying to get them in, and so I guess we'll get that update soon. But I would assume for retail we'll have to have some estimate. I guess the second issue is this entire project, regardless of state or city funding or MTA, is completely borne, my understanding, by the federal government. Is that not true?
No, not true. We had, I think that the budget is 847 million comes from the feds.
Right.
The rest is our money.
The rest is the MTA money?
Yes.
Is there any likelihood of the feds providing any more money? Is that part of a conversation? Is that something the MTA is asking for?
You guys read
stimulus package?
Yeah, you guys read the same newspapers I do. There is discussions about stimulus dollars, but I will not venture to try to figure out what is going to happen and when. This is let it play out.
Is this project a potential use of the federal dollars? Is that something this committee gets to decide? Is that something capital program gets to decide? Maybe it's not a question for you, but if the MTA does decide to use federal dollars for that,
I believe that it will be based on how the stimulus package comes out in terms of what is allowable and to be funded with stimulus dollars and whatnot. So I'm not going to venture speculating at this point because I don't know. They're changing the rules every other day.
Thanks.
Okay. Now we're going to...
Let me... just one moment. Let me move on to the 2nd Avenue subway. The negotiations for the 96th Street Station structure and utility work contract are being finalized at this point, I think, and then we'll come back to you with a recommendation, hopefully in February. The construction of the TBM launching box continues. Work is being completed on the west side of 2nd Avenue between 92nd and 95th Street, and will continue through the first quarter of this year. The secant pile and slurry walls that I've shown you last time around, installation was completed in early January, and the installation of the deck beams and precast rotary panels is about 50% complete. Once this work is completed on the west side, similar work will begin on the east side of 2nd Avenue between 92nd and 95th Street. Moving this work to the east side is contingent on the replacement and relocation of an existing 48-inch water main on the east side. And we are required to comply with additional requirements put in place by DEP. We have the pipe material on site, and as we speak, we do, and the work actually, we are allowed to start the work. So I think that they are doing a shutdown, Bill. Is the water? A shutdown was accomplished already? So that's a great accomplishment. DEP is always tough client to keep happy, but in this particular case, I think that we're able to achieve that and accomplish that. We're working cooperatively with them. And we developed an emergent contingency plan in the event that we have to reconnect the old pipe, and this is something that we needed to have materials on board. The existing water mains need to be replaced just simply because it's over 100 years old. So I don't believe that did not believe that we can support it safely during construction. So that's why it needed to be replaced. In addition to being replaced, actually in the process, we need to move it from the east side to the west in order for the work on the east side to take place. So it's not only supporting it, but we actually had to move it. We have incorporated the FDA comments into the environmental assessment for entrances location at 72nd Street and 86th Street. I've mentioned that there were some discussions with the community. They have not always been terribly happy where we placed our entry points. I guess normally the people, the NIMBY, it doesn't stop, and although we were on 2nd Avenue, they would rather have it on 3rd or 1st. So that's normal for this type of project, but I think that we've been able to work with them. Right now, we're going to pretty soon start a 30-day public review period, and public meetings will be held to discuss the exact new location, so hopefully we'll have a closure on that. Yes?
Are you still forecasting 2015 as an opening for Phase 1?
I started to by saying that I do not have the final at this point. We're working on the schedule. We have given it to actually the independent engineers, and when we have closure between the two of us, we will then present it to you. We are doing risk analysis, so I will not commit to that at this point.
Will it be in our lifetime?
Definitely. Age is also a determinant, but I have to tell you that I'm looking to cutting the ribbon, and I'm not the youngest member of this august
You
body.
better be drinking a lot of red wine.
I didn't forget. Let me deal with the east side access and the negotiation for the Queens Board tunnels and structure. This is the CQ-031. This is our proceeding. We are on schedule to meet our forecasted award in April, so that's going forward. The contract will build 4 soft ground line tunnels on the Sunnyside Yards along the Long Island Railroad main line in Queens, and there will be about 10,000 linear feet of tunnel being bored. With the award of this contract, all the tunneling work for ESA will be under contract, so that's actually a good thing. 1 TBM on the Manhattan side was relaunched on its second drive, and excavation work continues in preparation for relaunching of the second TBM this week, or potentially next week in early February. The location of utilities and construction of a vent shaft at 37th Street and Park Avenue began in early January 2009. Anyone there can see it. I just saw it this morning. There is activity going on. And we have advertised the 44th Street vent plant and 245 Park Avenue entrance contract and the Harold Structure Part 2 contract, and bids are expected in February. So that's proceeding. The South Ferry, we have made great strides together with the New York City Transit Authority. I would like to mention that this is the first time that in 20 years that we're opening a station. So therefore, the amount of work in testing and commissioning systems is much more complex, and people are going over it carefully. This is not like doing a major rehab on a station and opening and get the trains in. It's much more complicated, and we hope that we will know exactly when we can open it. The overall substantial completion, excluding the Peter Minuit Plaza, is now forecasted for April 2009. The Peter Minuit Plaza has been advertised, and we expect the bids to come in this week, actually by Friday. That's about it regarding the South Ferry, and I would like now to move to the number 7. That this is.
I'm sorry,
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Michael. When some of us took the tour,
Right.
It was very close to opening.
Right.
Do we have a date now, or?
I'll know this week. We are testing. They are working. Actually, they work over the weekend. They did a lot of work to figure out. We have new systems now that are much more complex. That have.
In our lifetime.
That will be definitely in our lifetime. But it just I think took us all a little by surprise that. It is much more complicated than was envisioned, and they have to do tests that will be in effect. When they test the fire systems, they have to integrate all of the elevators, all of the escalators, depending on which one, where a fire may occur. The one elevator goes one way, the other goes a different way. So there are many things that have to work exactly right, so that's being still tested. So they worked over the weekend, and I'll be a little smarter maybe this week.
It's mechanical systems?
It's mechanical systems primarily that we need to address, yeah.
Since you like trivia, Bill Moran,
Yeah, well, I was just saying,
Moran is on my mind because this.
well, Michael was just saying, the last time we opened a new station, a completely new station, with its own link to the existing network, was on the 63rd Street line back in '89.
20 years ago.
So it's a lot more in terms of getting the systems to integrate properly, getting everything to operate properly. It's a lot more involved than simply rebuilding a station, which could take several years, and then opening that existing station.
So would you characterize this as just a series of aggravations versus any big major problem?
That's what really it appears to be. So but the details sometimes are the most important thing. So in this particular case, all the big stuff has been done, but now the details are. So we have to make sure that everything tests right. I would like now to move to the number 7. I'm sorry, Jeff.
I apologize. Forgive me. Something just rubbed me the wrong way on the Fulton Street piece. Can I just ask a quick question before you go to 7 line?
Okay.
In terms of the federal funding and local funding, is there any requirement that there's a local MTA match for the Fulton Transit? Because this body has never approved any local money for Fulton Street, and that the book reflects that.
I would defer. I really don't know how to answer that. I wasn't here when
and maybe I don't know the answer. Maybe I would.
You have approved 295 and local funding back in March,
but it wasn't. That? Yes. Or that's in a future capital plan.
You approved a budget of 1198 back in March, and 295 of local funding is in that.
In which capital plan?
Back then it was a 2008-13 program.
So that doesn't exist, correct?
But those budgets were all approved.
But we're expecting a new capital plan, right?
Well, as you go with a new capital program, you deal with funding, you'll deal with the funding of that. But
so we haven't.
The budget itself was 1198. That was the approved budget, and of that 295 was local funding.
But we don't have a capital plan for this money right now.
You do not have money. You do not have program money for that, correct? Local funding.
And since we are not the ultimate arbiter of local MTA capital funding, there is none, right?
Correct. Yeah, it would have to be part of the funding of the next capital program.
For which
you would need a 295.
For which we're not the ultimate say.
Well, the ultimate say is that you send that program to Albany to get approved.
Okay. Can we start the number 7?
Yeah.
And we have tail tracks that will be modified, that will lengthen the thing by about 275 feet. Remember that the station ends up around here, and then we have tail tracks going all the way further down to 25th Street. At the Site A, that is right here, is the site that we're going to launch the TBM starter tunnel. And there are, then get next. The 11th Avenue site J is where the main entrance to the station will be. And this is a site that is going to be built with a developer. Actually, all of these sites have also development, private developers that were working with us. Then next one will be site P, that is between 34 and 35. That's where the secondary entrance to the station is. Next. We're looking at site K, 35th to 36th Street, and this is where a system facility building will have to be incorporated with the development on the site. And then we're going to site L at 41st, between 10th and Dyer Avenue, where there's another system facility building, and this is actually where we used to have the 10th Avenue station. This is where actually the station will be, with the main entrance between 33rd and 34th, and secondary entrance above that. And just wanted to show you, this is the site J. This is 11th Avenue, and this is the main entrance. The main entrance is going to be, in fact, along a boulevard. There is a boulevard that is being constructed between 11th and 10th Avenue that kind of goes diagonally. At this point, it is one direction only, and at 34th Street starts actually it's a real boulevard with a median, planted median and so forth. Next. This is at 33rd and 34th. This is the developer building, and this is just our interpretation for the moment. We're going to have a facility building that is on this particular site, on the 33rd at this point, and the entry point will be in the mid-block on the boulevard. Next. This is going to give you an indication of how it looks. It works by going down to a first mezzanine level that you're going to have the control area. From there, you're going to end up going on another escalator all the way down to the this is the first level mezzanine with the control here. Next. Next. Now we are going to the second mezzanine, and the entry is going to be somewhere here. And from here, you go to the platform level, and that's where we are. The secondary entrance is going to be on site P. It's going to be actually entry point from 35th Street, right here. This is the developed site, and this is going to be a kind of a little more complicated because it's a switchback type thing. You come down, you enter, and then you have to go further down. Just so we all understand, there is a provision, and could you go back two of them, please, to next, back, more, one more. That's it. At this location, this is the site J, we are providing here a future entrance to the west side of 11th Avenue by providing a knockout panel that could be connected to, in effect, the convention center if one wants to do so. Go back to where we were. Okay, here is some of the progress work that this is the site site J that we talked before. There is a FedEx building here that is now being demolished. We have acquired, this is a demolition that took place. The site P is actually today the main entry point onto the site. We have, in fact, the air ventilation shafts are going from there. So this is a site that it's really being used as a launching point for all construction work. You have the site J, site P, and site K. And what you see from here to there is the completed excavation that was done, basically drill and blast. This is the site P, where we do have a shaft. This is the site that you saw. The shaft has been done. This is called the adit, the one that connects into the cavern, and the upper part of the cavern has been excavated. Okay, so what we'll do here is that eventually you'll go all the way down to the track level. This is how it looks, looking north from the site P. This is only the upper part. This is looking west from site P, so that's what we are seeing. This is looking into the cavern. Now this is the site K, in which the excavation is much deeper here. We went further down, and could you... And by the way, this is January 13 pictures, so we actually know where we are. This is looking into the site. And then we are now going to Site 8. Site 8 is the site that we're going to launch the TBM from. There is basically, we dug a hole here. That's what you see here already has been excavated. Go back. These two pieces in yellow are the additional excavation on the original contract limits, and there are two orange that this is something that was added at the request of the Transit Authority. This has been already completed excavated in January 13, and this just gives you an indication where this hole exists right now, and it's covered partially. And when it's done, what you're going to see is a connection between the tail tracks. This is an escape route as well as going to the ventilation. This is our building, and this is going to be incorporated into the developer building. This is actually a picture that if you saw the Engineering News Record, our photographer won a prize as one of the best, and this is how people are being lowered into the cavern these days. So anyone that wants to do it can join me. We're going to go there to see it. So if you would like to see it, you're welcome to do so. We'll arrange for the tour. This is again looking from Site A. This is the one with the cavern looking west. And this is looking at the starter tunnel, and this is the two tail tunnels looking south. Next. The good news that the double shield TBM has been assembled in the factory. We went there, we witnessed it, and in fact, pieces already have arrived to the site. This is the cutter head, is on site today, and the expectation is that they will be lowered, they will be assembled and lowered in the near future. These are the rings, okay, the lining rings that are concrete that are being manufactured at the plant in Pennsylvania. And just so you understand, as we move through the tunneling, these rings are being placed behind the machine, so they are creating it's a precast liner for the tunnels. Let me give you an indication. This is, I'm kind of taking you to we're going to start at this point, and I'm going to let this, I guess, because it runs faster than I can talk. What we have here is the TBM will start at this location, and there are two starting points on the TBM, Tunnel 1 and Tunnel 2. The first part of the TBM will go through the real complex issue of soft tunneling. This is an area that we are actually froze the ground, and that the advance is going to be much slower in this area. And we expect to, if you can see, is sometime in September, okay? We're going to end up at this point. That means this is when the station cavern. Now, over there, we're going to walk the machine through because the cavern will be totally done. There is no need for boring. And this is something that has changed since the original contract. And then we're going to start going up. And again, what happened is that this area is identified because whenever you restart an operation, all of the problems start again. So as long as you advance and you dig, you have no issues. But when you stop and start again, that's when you really have to be very careful. And again, we expect this is 10th Avenue location that we're also looking at it carefully because the cover here is rather small. And then last but not least, when we arrive next to the Port Authority building, that's really where we need to be very careful. So we expect by mid-March to be done. This is a forecasted, and at this point it's forecasted to be about 3 to 4 months ahead of schedule. But it's a forecasted number right now. So but it's better to forecast early rather than late, right? So, next. This is actually shows you the ground freeze area. So it shows you that really we have a drop in the rock line, so that's an issue. And then here is the number 7 tunnel, and we're going here under the A, C, and E lines. Next. This is what you saw here before, the existing tail tracks of number 7. This is the A, C, and E. So what we need to do is to go under and connect to that. We have to modify the tail tracks. We have to lower it somewhat. And then we have to underpin this because we're basically taking out part of its foundation. So we have to carefully work our way around it. And this is a picture of the work there. Next. That's it. This is number 7.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
Turn the lights up.
As usual, I have a wind-up and then a question. Here's the wind-up. The tunnel boring machine components, as I recall, were supposed to be here in May or June. They're on site already. You're projecting completion 3 or 4 months early. You've solved the extra 275 feet and provided for the 2 facilities building very gracefully and simply. My question is, are you using MTA Capital Construction employees, or did you bring all these people from Germany? How is this possible?
Well, actually, we have a good contractor, and he's doing a good job, very experienced, and they have decided to do something that created these possibilities by mining drill and blast rather than waiting for the machine. So by doing a lot of work ahead of time, they were able to create for them, let's put it, a float. That means that they themselves create. If they are late, we have nothing to say. But they are very early. It's a good thing. So they will be out earlier. They probably going to make more money, I assume. So right now it looks good. We still have to. We're working with them to understand at what point we're going to be able to take over some of the area so we can start putting the systems in place. So. Yes, it is done, and it's proof that it can be done well. So but it depends on the contractor as well. Having a good contractor makes a hell of a difference.
Okay, any other questions? Okay. I would have been disappointed if that was going to happen. Okay, so now we're going to move, there's one procurement, and let's try to move quickly, unless anyone has questions, of course. So we have an executive session to move on to. I'd like, does anyone have any questions about the procurement for Ronnie? If not, a move and a second? Second, all in favor? Aye. There's also one action item. That's for facility spaces needed for the East Side Access Project. A second? All in favor? Okay, we will now conclude that portion of the meeting and move on to Rocco's portion, the real estate portion.
Good morning.
Sorry, Rocco, I always feel like we're burnt out by the time we get to you.
Good morning, Commissioner. I just also want to follow up with Commissioner Kay's question previously on the retail revenue at Fulton Street. Just so you know, once the facility design is fixed, and not just in terms of how much retail, but where is it? As you know, whether it's ground floor, underground, second floor, third floor, has a significant impact on the revenue generation potential. Once it's fixed, within a very short time thereafter, we'll be able to get a very good fix of what the potential of that revenue is. Okay? Let me just talk briefly about the action items. We have a number of them, 9. Just a brief word about item on page 19 for your information. This involves an agreement for the maintenance and operation of Metro North parking facilities. Just to give you a little bit of background, when this particular engagement was offered the first time in 1996, Metro North either owned or controlled approximately 8 locations. Today, that has grown to 34. We publicly offered this engagement and received through 3 responses to the RFP. All 3 proposals are responsible. You may have heard their names. This is parking. One of them is standard parking. One of them is All Right, and LAZ, which is the recommended vendor that we are bringing to you this morning. We checked the references. They all proved to be rather excellent. Just to give you a brief outline of the return to Metro-North here, we're looking at a 7-year contract, and just the aggregate value of the compensation is approximately $28 million. On a net present value basis, about $20 million. That's over 7 years. If we take that over the entire term, potential term of 13 years, the aggregate is about $57 million. So the revenue is rather significant. In addition to that, there are going to be a number of service enhancement provided as part of this effort, such as an ability to pay by phone for daily parkers, customer service phone service, so one can call in and then ask about information relating to parking and such. In addition, additional benefits, landscaping and snow removal. Just to give you a sense of cost avoidance in this case, if Metro-North were to perform this effort, it would be over $8 million. So we're very pleased to bring you this proposal or recommendation for LAZ parking. I think Metro-North Committee was briefed on this matter this morning.
Just one question. It says in here that it was the only firm that provided an annual fixed escalator and a proportionate share of future parking rate increases. What proportion is that, please?
David, do you have that?
It'll be proportional to whatever the rate increase is. So the proportion of if the rate goes up 3%, their payment will go up 3%. That's basically what we're saying.
Metro-North approves the rate increases. They don't have the capacity to increase the rates on their own.
Right.
So we established that, and then based on that, it's what kicks in their participation.
Okay.
But any approval on rate increase has to be approved by the agency, Metro-North.
So they're going to keep some portion of the rate increase, and they're going to give us a portion of it.
That's correct.
Is there a percentage split between them and us, I guess is really my question. Are they going to keep 60% of it and give us 40? Or are they going to keep 90 and give us 10?
Do you know, Greg, how that works?
Yeah, it's just the percentage that the rate is increased. They give us that same percentage based on the annual rental. So if the rate increase, say, goes up 6%, then the monthly rental fee they pay to us goes up 6%. It ends up being about 50-50.
About 50-50. Okay. And then I was curious about your choice of a discount rate of 9%. What was the basis for that?
We just use that rate for comparative purposes in terms of the proposals.
I know you used it consistently throughout the proposals. It's a very different answer if it's a 6 or 7%.
Yeah, but it's simply for comparative analysis purposes. We should probably change it to something like 6 or 7 to be more market sensitive. You're correct. Yeah, it's simply for comparative analysis.
Thank you. And then one final question. Any sense of what they're getting out of this versus us financially?
Don't know. Quite frankly, if you can see at the comparative analysis, their compensation proposal is extremely high.
Yeah.
To me, it seems it appears to be almost there's a lot of competition in this industry. It seems to me to be a loss leader for them, practically, more so than a revenue generator for the corporate entity. Certainly, they wanted this contract very badly. We did check the references and are comfortable that working for other public entities and they have performed appropriately. We're comfortable in selecting them or recommending them.
Thank you.
Okay. I motion to adjourn.
1 second, I'm sorry. On your informational item about the Hudson River Walkway,
Yes.
are we ever going to see a map showing where it's west or east of the tracks?
We can provide that to you, Commissioner. Absolutely.
Okay, I would love to have that.
We will
Thank you.
have that for you.
Okay. I motion to adjourn the meeting. We're going into move to executive session.
I think you got to act.
And we're going to discuss security issues. So let's move, motion to, okay.
Did you have any action items?
Did they approve your items?
They didn't move them.